Here's a thing from Twitter, which I'm pretty sure we haven't covered. Just real, Kehan Dozo, calling herself a monstrous regiment of women, says, just realised that since we read serial 19th century novels as only whole books, we are basically binge watching the 19th century.
So is this talking about...
Have we done this before? I have a horrible feeling that we've talked about this one before.
Not sure that we have in that form. But certainly, I think it's the case that... I take it this is alluding to the fact that a lot of 19th century novels were kind of serialised before they appeared as the conventional book that we're familiar with.
Yes.
A simple answer then, yes, probably. But I don't know, were they written as one thing and then chopped up and serialised as almost like a marketing thing? Well,
who can tell now without looking at them? I know certain ones were just written part by part to be a serialised novel, like Varney the Vampire.
I think some are, some aren't. It's very easy to think, Charles Dickens wrote a lot of stuff for serialisation in newspapers and magazines, but that doesn't mean that all authors did. I don't think like the Brontes didn't. Jane Austen, I don't believe, did. George Eliot, I'm not familiar with their works having been serialised. So I think that you're not comparing like with like on that.
That's true. But let's take an example. Varney the Vampire and some of the Sherlock Holmes adventures. If you're sitting down to read a collected version of it, I would say, yeah, you're binge reading it. It's not the way it was intended originally.
So you're saying that something like, to bring more up to date, one that I'd be more familiar with, because I have to be honest, I don't really like Charles Dickens' books. June Messiah. Frank Herbert was written serialised, and he actually was constantly on deadlines, so he was throwing it together chapter by chapter, and you can tell when you read it as one. It really is not a great book because it feels like it meanders about without any clear direction. That's probably because it started being published before it was anywhere near finished.
That is a big issue with that kind of thing.
And would you notice that it was badly put together if you only read it like a chapter and then went away for a month before you read the next chapter?
I don't think you would as much. I think it would be a better experience to take each chunk and then have a gap of time and then read another bit. In the same way that, let's see, we don't have them here now, do we? We have to move them out of the way.
What are you looking for?
The graphic novels of Mega Tokyo.
Yeah, they're elsewhere. They're on a shelf upstairs.
Yeah. Okay, Mega Tokyo is a web comic. And as a webcomic, it's serialised. It's not usually daily. It can like 2 or 3 times a week, if that, because it did have quite significant gaps at times. Like most webcomics, it's not pre-planned. It's a case of, we're putting this bit together, and then I'm going to put this bit together. I'm not sure what comes after that bit, but we'll get to it. There may be a vague outline of what's going to happen, but the majority of webcomic artists, myself included, don't plan too far ahead because you just can't. Things may change. So, when you come to read it in a graphic novel collected form, you're essentially reading the entire archive of that comic, and you will notice the issues, because it's natural. There'll be a thread that doesn't seem to go anywhere, then it might get picked up later on, but it might not. So, there's always a case of, wow, it's very interesting, that story, and then just stopped.
But, I mean, by the same token, is it, in my view, I don't think it is like binge watching or binge reading. I think binge reading would be reading back to back all the Shakespeare plays. You just keep going one into the other, or you would read all of the Brontes novels back to back. Just at one sitting. I mean, I don't know how long a sitting that would be. But
fair size sitting.
But reading a book,
huge.
But reading a book, I don't know about you, but even if I get really into a book, it can take me a couple of days to binge read a book. You're talking, 10, 11 hours a day. If I really get into a book, you're still talking about 20, 25 hours worth of reading just to get through a single book.
How long do you think it takes to binge watch a TV show?
Well, it depends. If you
An
want
American TV show, 45 minutes per episode, 24 episodes per series.
that's like watching the entire series one of Friends in one sitting, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. It's not meant to. When it was originally put together, it wasn't meant to be consumed in that manner. So I
disagree with you. I think it all hinges on how the book was originally written. If it was written in the manner with which Dune Messiah was written, where he was constantly on deadline, he made it up, chucked it out, it got printed, so people were actually reading it before there was an end of the book.
As if it's a first draft, essentially.
Yeah, I think that might change it, but if you have a book that's been fully written from cover to cover and then serialized, and it's been polished, and it's it's all as together as it's going to be, and it's all been planned carefully, I don't think it would change your perception as much, because it's been written with an eye to how it holds together as a complete story.
So your argument is it's not the printing method that matters, it's the production method.
Yeah, and you could argue, for example, a TV series, something like Friends, every episode is pretty much standalone. Yes, there are references to previous episodes, but you can pick any episode you like and watch it on its own and it stands up. Whereas if you watch, I'm trying to think of a good example.
The Wire?
Yeah, perhaps.
Every single one builds from the previous episode.
Yeah, if you watch, or Breaking Bad maybe, one which has a clear, series by series, complete story, then binge watching it, because it's been planned in that way, I don't think it changes your perception. Because it's almost like it's a feature film that's been serialized instead, because the story continues and continues.
Fair enough. Well, I think we've answered that then. We are binge watching it, but it doesn't always matter. It always depends how it was put together in the first place. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay.